And by that I mean they're developing a device that they can either use to place in the hive that will allow the bees to become immunized against some of these viruses and mites that are wiping out hives, or how to aerosol it so it doesn't affect the bees and stick their wings together. That's the big problem. You know, usually spray bees, we stick their wings together, they fall, they die. And if they go extinct, we do.
Yeah, they're very important.
Very important little animals. Okay. So we will be getting, as they're working out their plans on what they can do, those companies will be coming in sometime this month to give a look for some internships. A lot of the companies on this floor are biomedical, which means they're doing devices that are used in the medical industry. They need people to design their prototypes. We 3D print them so they can make them into molds that they can then use for manufacturing. So some of those things will be like, you see a lot of diabetics now wear a patch, so they don't have to be injected constantly and they don't have to constantly take blood samples. So that's kind of some of those innovations that are going on. All right, so if you're using Google SketchUp, make sure you log in with your student SD account. That will work. You just have to be a little more attentive on what you're doing. I goofed around with a little bit. There's a couple of things in here. If you get down to where the move option is, there's a rotate that lets you pick a surface, pick a point, and then you can rotate and twist things. It works, and you can twist that edge a little bit, kind of like what we did with the lofts on SolidWorks. So you can get some kind of abstract shapes going. I haven't figured out how to round the edges yet. I'm still working on that. Somewhere there's got to be a way. Whoa. So, I mean, well, that's kind of stupid. But anyway, you can kind of look at that and see how that works for you. Again, if you need information on how to get SolidWorks, it's in the announcements from week 1. So kind of, yay you. Okay, so to kind of continue on our little way, while you're working, I'm going to throw out some demo pieces. So I decided to start and try and create a kind of a flame-like, more maybe flower-like, I don't know. Since these are awards in education, one of the big symbols of education is the torch. The torch of knowledge is often depicted. I'm not good at drawing flames in 3D. They're kind of a ethereal type thing. So I went with a flower instead. So I wanted to show one thing. And then I'm going to have you guys kind of go to work a little bit. Because we want to get these skills really are on these 2 projects. I know they seem like, I don't want to make a trophy. The reality is it's what's going to help you do a better lightsaber. It's what's going to help you do a better light feature. It's going to give you some more creativity. And by not having something to copy, you're forced to come with your own ideas. So I'm going to back this up. And basically I want to show you how to look at what you've done. So you can go on to GrabCAD. You could find a trophy. There's bunches of them, okay? And that's great if you modify it, because you got to meet the requirements. But I want to show you a couple things about SolidWorks that I really like, that the software does, that lets you be a little bit more creative in what you're doing. For instance, this bar right here, it keeps moving down your screen on the left-hand side. That is your time bar, okay? If you put your cursor on there, you get this little hand, and you can move time backwards. So this is where it started. So none of this has happened yet. So this is my first thing I did. If I expand the loft out, it started with 2 sketches. So if I go and look in those sketches, sketch 1, if I edit that, was that 4-inch square. Sketch 2 required me to create a plane. So we copied the plane last time. So sketch 2 is a square rotated, and it's just 1 1/4 inch, so it's a little smaller. And then the loft, okay? Really not a complicated little thing. I didn't have to do a twist with it. It just kind of happened, okay? Then I moved forward. There's a circle extruded up. Then the next one is simply what this was, is a couple of arcs. just some random arcs. There's not even dimensions to them. I did make sure I didn't go beyond my 6-foot diameter or width process. So I could have gone 2.5, 2.75. I could have gone 3 inches and still been fine. But I've not done designing, so I don't know what's coming. So I'll give myself some air. If I want to come back and change this, I just have to change this piece here. Okay, so it keeps it easy. Each of these were extruded at separate times using a mid-plane extrusion, so they're equally symmetrical. Whoops. Moving forward a little bit, there's a second extrude. Now it looks like a little tulip starting up out of the ground. So cute. And that's where a lot of inspiration comes from. If you look at what the universe creates and you watch what happens in that creation process, everything that grows starts out as something basically like this, a little stick with a little leaf. And then it becomes a stalk of corn, an oak tree, sequoia. You know, you don't know what you're going to get at that start because they all look very, very similar. And you have to see those leaves develop before you know where you're going. That's a lot of what engineering is. You have a problem, you're not really sure how you're going to solve it, but as you go along the process, it creates a solution for you. Okay? Then I added some fillets to it because I started thinking plant, thinking leaf, so we rounded it up. Did that round, makes it all so sweet. Look, a little tongue. We should do the wooden dog. I think that'd be a good one too. Move the next level, round it off the edges, round it off the next piece, and I can just go through the whole history of a part. So if you do pull something off of GrabCAD, you can literally go through and see everything that was done to create that part. This gives you that working history, and that is so, so important because some of you will become major designers either in the auto industry or the machining industry, where you're going to take one part, it's going to be your signature thing, and that one part can become an entire company. And Utah's very, very good at doing that. We have a lot of what they call now in the business world unicorns. You guys know what those are?
They just do one thing, like
They-
they warn them,
Well,
or something like that.
kind of like that. What they do is these are companies that their innovation is so unique that they are the dream company to invest in. And they'll go from being a $100,000 a year company to a multi-billion-dollar company in weeks. And we have several of them. Your Canvas program that you're using is one of those. They started out as a BYU graduate school project. BYU does not use that program, by the way. Kind of funny how that works out. But most of the United States education system is on Canvas now. Very large, large company. It pretty much changed online education. Another one you've seen, maybe, let's see what they're called. Insight is another educational platform out of Utah that's on your LinkedIn accounts where they provide lessons. Pluralsight's another one that does a lot of that kind of thing. So Utah's really good at coming up with these little wonderful ideas that bloom into big companies. We have, let's see, Nikola. You know Nikola, the company? Not Nikola Tesla, but so you have Tesla out there making cars, right? You have another company called Nikola. They make batteries. They make batteries for electric cars. They started here in Utah. They moved now to Arizona, but that company is worth billions because the batteries they make are more efficient. So the idea of you being here in an engineering design course is to get your ideas created and moved out. So I'm going to do a little bit more. I did a little divot here, a little pucker on it, and then I mirrored that over to the other side. What I want to show you today is I want to rotate this around and make sure I've got everybody in here. There's Griffin. I forgot to let Griffin in here. Sorry about that, Griffin. I left you out there. Okay. If I want to do a rotate, typically we have to know a center point. And I've used up my center point by putting things on top of it. Well, if I want to make multiple copies of this, because my intent was to make a flame. That was where I started with this. Inside of your SolidWorks, if you go to View and Hide Show, there's a whole bunch of different options there of things to help you navigating inside of SolidWorks. And the one that's the most helpful in 3D is this guy called temporary axis. So temporary axis will never, it's not physical. You didn't draw it. It just is created from the geometry that you're doing. So if I toggle on that, it'll put on my drawing, anywhere there's a radius, a center mark. So if I've got a circle or a cylinder, it's going to have a center mark to it. There are center marks out here as well, based on the arcs that are here. Now, when you use those, then I can go in and do something like a circular pattern, which is built inside the linear pattern. It says, what's your axis? Wow, geez, I'm gonna go ahead and pick that axis right there. And then it says, what do you want to go? Now, because of what I've done, there's so many things involved here. You need to select them in order. If I pick the fillet, I can't do a copy of the fillet without the body that it came from. So I'll go here, and I'll go from this point here, shift key all the way down to the bottom. So I get everything selected. I need all of those things to happen. Now you can go through and you can pick them all one at a time. That's always good. I need to add a couple more things here. So I get everything in my view, and it should all be blue when it's selected. Blue means you're selected. It's like Tinkerbell toaster with a bunch of fairy dust that's ready to go. Okay? Then I can tell how many of those items I want. And you can go, don't run your machine to the ground. Don't put in like some of the 999. You can do that, but your RAM will probably fill up before it gets done doing it. So kind of keep it with moderation. Then when you check it off, now it's to say, oh, it's too much, that's too much, I can't do it. There are a couple ways to fix that. One is it's saying only merging features may be patterned. Okay, so I didn't merge any of these. So what that means is, while these are a feature, they're not merged mathematically to the cylinder. Okay, so you're gonna get that come up quite often. When that's the case, don't freak out. Okay, it just means it's a different type of element. So I'm going to turn off the features. I'm going to turn on the bodies. And guess what? I'm going to pick all of the exact same stuff again. Hopefully. Maybe. And these might be a little trickier to get. Let me cancel that on it. I overload my RAM. Silly teacher. Told you what not to do, and I go ahead and do it. So I'm not going to do features. I'm going to do bodies. That is, oh. Okay, now that is telling me that they are merged. So what I need to do is go find out where my merge is, because it's telling me all this is in there. That's tricky. Okay, so I'm going to go right back to the beginning here. And I go back to this guy right here. If I edit that feature, so that's where the merge, what didn't happen, put that merge back on. So all that merges is add the math to connect it together, because I wanted to do the body originally. And now let's see if I can get that to go the other way. But by all means, do not give up on what you're doing, because that's sad. Shift key, pick the axis line, and now I've got them all in there. I can put a full preview on. That's giving me a little bit of problem with the full preview, makes me a little concerned. Zero thickness in there somewhere. Okay, zero thickness errors. These are coming from, typically they'll be from when you've mirrored something. In this case, I've mirrored that little feature. So when I mirror, what's happened on there is I mirrored it over and then on the other side. So I've got negatives because I've got across the quadrants. So if I take the mirror out and try that one, oops, still got it. Okay, well, they simplified this down a little bit. And we're going to start with, and you just kind of play this. I want you to see what goes on here in the process, because you're not going to get your results exactly where you want them. You may literally have to go and start with one thing at a time and do just that one thing and get that in there. Then go in and do the same thing again, keeping track of your same access point. And don't take your same feature again, but go to the next feature and bring them in one at a time. And that didn't go. Where did that go? Did it twice, didn't I? Clear. And I need access. And I need the feature. And I can check that part off. And so you just go periodically one time. And so you can start to create things. So try and do it all at once, but then you might have to go back and do it in step. That's the best way to understand what's mathematically happening with your model as you get through there. And then you can keep going through. Fillets are very difficult. And here's what's my 0 point. Because I rounded this, this one doesn't have that same effect. So if I do another pattern, I'm now here at my first fillet. Clear out so I don't do the same thing again. I put that fillet in there and let that go around, and it usually will probably air out at that point. Okay, and that's where my air is. So why is that airing out? A little bit of why me, why poor me?
Because there's too many points over that, too much stuff over that one little point.
Okay, yes, what you're saying is correct. Because, let me unselect that piece here. Because this piece runs into this piece, it can't do that fillet. So that fillet on here is quite large. If I go look at the size on that, it is a 0.25. Well, wow, 1/4 inch, that seems like nothing, okay? But if I can't get that to happen, if I come in again and do that fillet, same size, and pick those same edges that were involved, I can do them individually, hopefully, but not collectively. So you might have to go and do fillets at their individual time, because it needs to be able to identify where all that's coming from. Once you get that going, you know, it's good for you to see errors. And once I get that figured out, I can try to do 2. So as soon as it wigs out, I'm done. So I can delete the one that's no good, and I have to do them one at a time. Then I have to go through the next series of fillets. So once you get your initial concept, you may have to rebuild that as you go, but don't let that hold you up, okay? Don't be afraid to make a mistake in this, because if you make a mistake and you don't like it, you literally can turn back time. It's not a big deal, okay? All right, I want you guys to work on these 2 today. Hopefully those of you at home have things you can work on. If you don't have either option, so if you just got a Chromebook, SketchUp is really your only modeling software that's going to work on that. Yikes. Do the best you can. Be creative. If your trophy looks like something out of Minecraft, I'm okay with that for this time, because we can bring that program in to SolidWorks when you get back, and then we can change that. Likewise with your rocket, if it's a little blocky, we can fix that, okay? So we're gonna do a little bit of, I'm gonna go around and help the kids in class. Those of you who need help at home, if I'm not at my desk, I'm not gonna see your chat. So unmute your mic and yell so I can hear you. And you can yell nice things, okay? Don't be calling me a clown. We've learned that's not a good thing, right? A little PC humor there. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on those 2 projects. The sketch aspect of this, again, if you want to just draw out what your intent is, then you can just take a picture of that with your camera and load that into the Tech 1 option. I think it's in both classes now. Trying to keep it so you can find things easier. Just upload that picture from your phone if you've done a drawing of what you want. The reason I ask you to do that is if I can see where you're trying to go, I can help you easier. And especially those of you who are at home now, it's going to be a little bit more work. And so if I kind of can see what you're trying to do, then I can provide you some helps, okay? All right, I'm going to turn some tunage on, and if you guys at home don't want to listen to it, too bad. But I need tunes to work today. What's that? Honestly, need that? I got a good music.
It's gonna be a chill day.
It's gonna be a chill day.
We just ask you if we're asking for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's today. Today's a lab day, okay? Also, if you're missing any other assignments, please get those in. I want to get this grade book kind of put back to where it's supposed to be. Okay? All righty, here we go. Do you guys have any questions before I go around the lab?